So shall we run through now some of the issues I see people mention online a lot, almost like either confirm or bust some
Confirm or
myths.
deny, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll call this section the myth busting section. So the main one was about energy. So Bitcoin uses too much energy and it's a waste of resources. And I read somewhere that if Bitcoin miners were a country, they would be the 61st most energy wasting country. That's not even the best way of saying it. In terms of energy, electric consumption.
Yeah. So it's a perfectly valid point, and we get this all the time, and they just go, we need to save the planet, we need to do all this good stuff. Why the hell are you just leaving all these machines running to process your imaginary money, right? You're stupid. There's a couple of ways to answer this question, and the bottom line is again, people focus on the wrong thing. So firstly, if you wanted to be a bit utopian about it, what is Bitcoin trying to do? It's trying to replace a lot of the banking systems, the monetary systems that we have. No one's making a fair comparison to how much energy they currently use. So how much money is the bank system using at the moment?
So the argument is it's the lesser of two evils.
Well, to some extent, that would be one way to do it. So no one complains about, look at you chopping down all them trees to make cash.
Next one I've got is Bitcoin is slow and not suitable for payments.
Yeah, Bitcoin is slow and not suitable for payments. So there is some truth in that. So Bitcoin, as we said before, the blocks of Bitcoin are every 10 minutes. So you're never going to get anything confirmed in less than 10-minute period. So it's kind of not practical for buying a coffee.
That's what I was going to say. Could I buy a round of drinks with Bitcoin?
So
no.
On the Bitcoin network itself, no. But with the third-party mechanisms, yes.
Yeah.
So you could get it on a Bitcoin debit card or whatever, and they do the swap in the background. However, there's something being developed called the Lightning Network, which basically has found a way to speed up the transactions by, technically it does something to the thing, but it's basically a quicker way to speed up Bitcoin. So that
isn't that using a third party though?
And that's no, the Lightning Network is
it's like using a bank. You said about the Santander, the NatWest thing. If you're
using a third party there, then that is again. This is the dichotomy of the market that we find ourselves.
This is the maddest thing. Like, the more research I do, it's more like the very thing it says. Oh, this is what it does, or this is what it doesn't. It actually does the thing it says it doesn't.
Ultimately, what it is the technology is incredible.
Yeah.
So it's being used by traditional institutions for their benefit, and ultimately, until more companies directly accept Bitcoin and more companies directly accept it and start using it, it will become its own bubble of payment. Yeah. So you'll be able to, so only literally last week, New Zealand completely regulated 100% salary for Bitcoin. No problem. Yeah. You can choose, if you're in New Zealand, to get paid 100% legit in Bitcoin.
I read an article about a guy that gets paid in 100% in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and because you can now. So as people start getting paid in Bitcoin, as companies start accepting Bitcoin, then all these things will come into play. At the moment, we're in this weird middle ground where the technology is being used for a whole myriad of things, and it's a bit of a grey area.
On him, would you say he's crazy for getting his full salary in today's world in 100% cryptocurrency?
No, because all it does is open up the option.
Yeah.
So he's thinking Bitcoin's going to go up loads in value, so I'm earning 50 grand a year today. It's effectively going to be £500,000 in X period of time.
Yeah.
So that's his play. However, there's no need that you have to hold all that coin.
Yeah.
Why not go, you know what, I only need to live on £1,000 a month, so I'll sell £1,000 a month in today's money, use that as cash, and then I'll keep the rest.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the things that people go, Bitcoin's 10 grand, I can't afford that. Well, you can, because you can buy a tenner's worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because it's got 8 decimal points. So you've got flexibility there. So when people say, can I use it for payment? The reality of it is it's slow at the moment, but fundamentally, Bitcoin, even though it was designed as a payment, it's really going to find its place. There are other coins of this 2000 that are probably going to be better for day-to-day payments for Bitcoin.
What about transaction fees then? Is it expensive to pay for things in Bitcoin?
Well, the transaction fees vary. So it really depends upon a few variables at the moment as to how many miners are on the network.
Take PayPal then as an example, because a lot of people are used to using PayPal. Right, so how would it compare to, say, PayPal?
Yeah, so PayPal's roughly around 5%-ish, 3 to 5%, somewhere around that number. And Bitcoin, the transaction fees, they're a little bit complicated in the way that they work, but the difference is it doesn't necessarily scale with the more money that you move.
Right, okay.
So it can be a right pain in the ass to send 100 quid in Bitcoin, but sending 100 million is virtually the same. So only a couple of months ago, a really good example would be, over $200 million of Bitcoin got sent from one country to another, 0 exchange fees. Yeah. It was completed on the same day. no bankers, no international exchange fees, no people taking snips in the middle, and the whole transaction costs less than a tenner.
Yeah.
So it's really designed for, large amounts of money, large asset transfers. The fees are almost negligible.
What were they buying for that?
Well, just moving money between.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, different accounts.
Arms.
So, yeah, well, who
Arms
knows?
and drugs.
Yeah, well, this is it. So, but again, people that try that, it's not as anonymous as people once think, because okay, those coins might move between two different places, but one, the fact that I know about it, the
That's
fact
what I was
that the
gonna
whole
say.
crypto knows about it, because it's a public transaction, all that they have to do is watch that account and go, well, who's pulled out that money?
Yeah.
So it's not as now the infrastructure is starting to come around crypto, and there's really easy ways to get money in and money out. It's really not quite as hideable as the underground in which it started, when it was genuinely used for things.
So that makes me think then. So if people can see it and you know about that transaction, how secure is it? Like, is your crypto secure? I couldn't walk around with what would I have? Like a USB in my pocket? Or...
I literally have one in my pocket. Yeah.
So if that's your life savings.
Yeah. So So I have a nano ledger with me.
There's a spider there.
Spider.
Seen that?
Well, that's lovely. Look at that.
Yeah.
He's trying to get my Bitcoin. So people go, oh, you're crazy for having that in your pocket. What an idiot. What if you get mugged? Well, you won't be able to do anything with it.
But I can see why, especially people that don't understand it, because like the language that we're using, some of the jargon that we're using, it's hard to understand. If my money's in the bank, I think I'm insured up to like 85,000 or whatever it is.
85,000, yeah.
If I had 85 grand's worth of crypto in my pocket on a USB, I've lost my bank cards loads of times.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've left it at the bar, all sorts of stuff.
This is how it works. So there's a device, there's different ways to store Bitcoin. So when it comes to the safety of Bitcoin, this is again something that's terribly misunderstood. We've all heard those stories. I think I did an interview actually, with that guy who lost his hard drive and was paying the council to try and find his hard drive because he had millions of pounds of Bitcoin on it when he threw his computer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a guy in the UK and his girlfriend threw out his laptop. Because he left it Bitcoin mining, it was dead noisy, and it was an old one, so she threw it out.
Just Bitcoin mining, babe. Don't come in.
Yeah. Nothing to see here. And so it had something stupid like, I don't know, 30, 40 million of Bitcoin on it, something stupid. So he tried paying the local council to go and explore the tip to get it back. Never found it. Really interesting guy to speak to. But so people go, oh, look, see, it's well unsecure. You wouldn't have had that in a bank. Oh, an idiot. But again, it's much more nuanced than that. So people go, oh, you had your Bitcoin on the website and the website got hacked. And again, people just don't really understand what they're talking about.
It can be hacked though, can't it?
No, this is the thing. So the Bitcoin network, the blockchain of Bitcoin has never been flawed.
Yeah.
And in order to make a false payment or to create coins or to say that something didn't happen between me and you, for example, you would have to have over 51% of global Bitcoin computational power to fool every other 49% machine.
Yeah.
So just by brute force, it's the safest, most secure data network we've had. Now the misconception comes in is because the underlying blockchain is super secure. If you then take a coin from there and stick it on a dodgy website, and that dodgy website gets hacked, it's a little bit like saying, if you got your wallet nicked on the bus, you wouldn't say your bank account's been hacked.
Yeah, true.
So it's a similar type of thing. Like if you leave, your money on some dodgy website where it's vulnerable, then that's not the blockchain of Bitcoin being hacked. It's you were just an idiot.
So like user error, basically.
Right. A lot of it's user error. So there are ways in which you can keep that secure. So these devices are called cold storage devices. So you can physically take the coins off the blockchain and stick them off the internet effectively and put them in cold storage. So you can keep them on a physical USB stick like the one I have. And then you go, oh, what if you lose your USB stick? Well, whenever you get one of these devices, there's always a backup code. Yeah. So you keep the backup code and the device physically separate. And then if you lose one or the other, you can restore them.
In my when I was setting up a wallet, when I did the first trade into just cryptocurrency, Ether and Bitcoin, I think my code was something like 12 unrelated words or something mad like that.
Either 12 or 24 words.
I literally got no idea what those words are, and I was supposed to write them down. But
yeah, well, that's it. So if you ever lost that key, for example, you're goosed.
Can I ask you about something that Donald Trump said?
Absolutely.
So he said that Bitcoin facilitates unlawful behaviors.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? So is Bitcoin for criminals?
Again,
he should know.
No comment. So interestingly, again, this question's always put at the crypto community, but then it's never given any context. So I'm like, okay, so cash has never been used for a drug deal? right? So
you can't sniff your coke through a Bitcoin.
Yeah, right. So
fact.
So
allegedly.
Allegedly. So it's one of those things where ultimately, again, you know, and it's nuanced. So look, when Bitcoin was first created in its first few years, there's no denying it was used for criminal activity. Because it was a bit more anonymous then, because the ecosystem wasn't as strong around it, and it was used for unlawful things.
Like dark web, unregulated
kind of went together.
Cash payments,
right?
I can see how they would go hand in hand.
Absolutely, and the reality of it is this is where you've got to have a frank and honest conversation about it. It's like saying, well, you know, are there dodgy websites on the internet? Well, yeah. Is the internet bad? Well, no. Yeah. So it's again the same thing. So can people use this technology maliciously? Absolutely. And, you know, a spoon can be used maliciously. You know, it's more about, it's not what the thing is, it's its intent. So when people say it's bad compared to what, I mean, when they're really comparing it to cash, which is completely untraceable to all extent, at least with Bitcoin and crypto, there is a digital transaction of everything that's going on there.
Okay.
So yes is the answer, but to what extent is really the question.
Like anything can be abused, kind of.
Right.
And taken around. So the next one is Bitcoin is a bubble with no real value, and it was Warren Buffett. He doesn't fancy it.
Is it still rat poison?
Well, probably rat poison squared.
And
so yeah.
I have got Warren Buffett's book on investing, and he does his papers every year to tell you what he's invested in. He has done pretty well, and he's likened it to the tulip fad, which obviously if you look at the sort of numbers, tulips were worth loads, weren't they? And they dropped overnight.
Yeah.
So is he right or is he wrong?
So I'm not going to be the man that says Warren Buffett's wrong, because that would be a stupid thing to say on the internet. However, Warren Buffett has been very clear in saying that he simply doesn't invest things he doesn't properly understand.
Yeah.
And he's been very clear in saying that he doesn't understand blockchain and he doesn't understand crypto. Therefore, he's steered clear from it.
So I'm just following that process with it. And so anybody, and this is a lot of the stuff that we're doing on our YouTube channel where we're doing we're investing in all different things. Yep. Would you say that sort of understanding and knowledge of the actual thing that you might be invested in is the best advice for anybody, and that's in any asset?
Yeah, full stop. I mean, it's one of those things. It's not almost like you need to know. So, for example, most of my clients, you know, as when I met yourself, you know, you weren't a crypto expert, but you understood business. You understood what the numbers were. We could have an educated conversation about risks and the language, and you know, so most of my clients are pretty successful business owners. You know, you don't necessarily need to know everything about it, but you need to at least know enough about it to come and find people, hopefully like me, where you can at least ask these type of questions to me and go, actually, Josh, what about this? What about that? What does that mean? Don't go throwing your kidneys at stuff that you don't understand. I mean, that's a stupid idea. And Warren, you know, stays very clear of that because he's doing so well in other areas. But, you know, equally, crypto and blockchain can be a bit confusing. There's so many miscommunications around it.
Do you think that's why then? So I am inundated on Instagram and Facebook with people almost preying on that sort of lack of knowledge, and I get offered stuff all the time that's promised me, oh, I'll give you 1,000% returns, or I'll give you $100 per day for the next 180 days. Do you think that's why people fall? Well,
people always want get rich quick, and the problem is with the crypto sector is people genuinely did get rich quick, and it wasn't because of any schemes or scams or anything. It was just effectively they bought shares which did exceptionally well in an exceptional short period of time. There wasn't a scam, there wasn't a thing, there wasn't, you know, but there was people that literally bought £100 or something and could walk away with tens of thousands of pounds a few months later. That doesn't happen very often.
Do you think now though, so now that there are these hedge funds and investment funds getting involved and the proper major banks and it's more regulated, do you think now, because obviously they're linked with the media and insider trading stuff, do you think it's easy for them to now almost do a pump and dump strategy? They could flood the market, buy loads, pump up the value, then Joe blogs me and I'll say myself here, oh wow, Bitcoin's gone up to 20,000, let's put £500 in, and then it goes to £1,000 overnight. But really, they've sold all their Bitcoin at 20 grand to idiots like me. Again, Johnny come latelys.
The question is does that happen today? That's it
happens in stocks and shares all the time.
That's another question altogether. Again, people know things insider trading is a big thing.
Yeah.
But realistically, again, this brings us to a really interesting point. So people just go, you know, well, at the moment, as it stands today, as we film this, it is illegal for regulated funds, so pensions, hedge funds, proper institutional bodies, to invest in a non-regulated asset class. And as it stands today, Bitcoin is, at least in America, a non-regulated asset class.
In my mind, and this, call me a skeptic, because I'm skeptical about anything that's promised me, I don't think that the governments, banks, the system would allow Joe Bloggs to be able to buy something today and then overnight 60, 50, 60, 70% of the population become instant millionaires, because number one, that isn't how the system is designed. We're meant to work, we're meant to be workers, so if we all become millionaires. So even if that did happen and we all became millionaires, I think they'd just use inflation. So then all of a sudden, $1 million would be worth £100.
This is where the argument gets really interesting. So one, you're right, that's never going to happen, because even as we have this podcast now,
so all of a sudden no one would turn up to work on Monday.
Even if this was going out to every person in the country, less than 1% are going to do anything.
Yeah.
No matter who I am, what I say, what I do, the results we've shown for our clients, no one's going to, some people are either going to invest or they're not. That's just the nature of people. Some people believe stuff, some people don't. Some people think it's too good to be true, some people don't. Some people can't be bothered to do the research that's required to make an educated, informed choice. That's fine, so not everyone's going to become rich overnight off this. As it stands today, it's less than 0.1% of the population that's involved in the crypto space.
I'm in a lucky position, and for me, I kind of see this as a gamble, and I'm willing to put some money in, and I can kind of absorb if this all goes wrong, and I know I'm lucky for that, and that's not, so I feel a bit more nervous or worried or sorry for some people that can't necessarily, and they are banking on this being, because what you're saying there is, sure, it might be worth £1 million, let's say the equivalent of £1 million, but what we're saying is by the time that comes around, that million might only be £10 in today's money.
That depends. That sounds preposterous to us in England and preposterous to people in America. Ain't preposterous to people in Venezuela.
Of course.
Right. So we have to understand that our economy is very delicately balanced since we moved away from the gold standard, where £10
I was going to say it's about the petrodollar. I understand all these things.
Exactly.
I think sometimes people don't understand about the petrodollar and oil backing,
certain currencies
and the Federal Reserve Bank and stuff like that. I think if anyone's not ever seen that, they should Google or go on YouTube and watch the videos next. It's unbelievable. So I can see why Bitcoin cryptocurrencies have.
Yeah, it moves away from all of that.
Yeah.
There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's it. Forever. Done. We've got another about 100 years of mining, and that's about it.
I know that, call me stupid or whatever, but why is it only 21 million? Why didn't they make it 25 million, 20 million? They just randomly picked the number?
Arbitrary number, yeah.
Can they not make more? Like the banks can print more notes.
Again, I'm not a computer geek. I think there's something technical about the way in which it's like the way it's programmed. 21 million is just a good number to kind of get to with the way it's all fractionalized. But 21 million is ultimately the way in which it's defined. So at the moment, we're around 17 million. People think we've lost up to 4 million in old computers and old things that are never going to circulate. We think there's about 13 to 14 million.
Some accounts will skip somewhere in there.
Yeah,
on that guy's hard drive.
That's on his skip. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the reality of it is Bitcoin is getting harder and harder to get every day. Next year, there's something called the halvening. So every 4 years, the thing that's very clever about all this proof of work mechanism is that the more machines go into mining the coin, the stronger the network gets, the faster the network gets, the better the network becomes, the more secure. But it also reduces the amount of coins each person's getting because they're all fighting for the same rewards.
Yeah.
So again, that's put a lot of northward pressure on the price because simple economics of supply and demand.